Chapter 6. Hope on the Horizon. My husband's powerful faith. My husband never doubted that God would give us children. After all, he always told me that God himself had promised that our children were to sit around our table. Sadly, I had difficulties tapping into that promise. I mean, maybe God meant his children with another woman, because the way things were going, I looked less and less like a mother material. A new fertility approach. That's it. We have to do something different. I was tired of all that uncertainty and useless waiting. We once again went to see a doctor, a different one that charged much more, which meant he should know more, right? Not necessarily. This time we were more aggressive with hormone treatments and even tried artificial insemination. Then the day came for the pregnancy tests and results. I even started feeling sick. In my mind, I imagined it could be morning sickness. I could barely keep myself quiet. Finally, the results came in. Another negative outcome. I was not pregnant, but I was surely devastated. It was not the first time I read negative on a pregnancy test, not even the second or third. This was just a carbon copy of all the countless negative pregnancy test results I had received. At that time, I went back home defeated. I went from planning for a baby's arrival to putting together the pieces of my broken heart. Alas, it is positive. After a few months, I remember having terrible headaches, and then I was not the most positive person to be around. I allowed my mind to go so far that I was convinced I had a brain tumor or something similar. I made an appointment with the doctor for a checkup, but at the end of the day, it was just a severe migraine, or so we thought. Some days after, I experienced other symptoms that pushed me to go for a pregnancy test. I recall going to a pharmacy at the mall, and I was so intrigued that I could not wait to get home. I did the test in the mall's restroom. I held the personal pregnancy test in my hands, and I was literally shaking when I saw the result. I wanted to shout and jump and scream. It was positive. Imagine my joy. Nevertheless, I needed to be sure before disclosing such great news. I then went to a clinic where they could confirm with a blood test that I was pregnant. Oh, happy day. It was a yes for me. I remember getting home and sharing the news with my husband. The house became one of joy, praise, and singing. I told all my family and close friends about the great news. There was nothing you could do to take that smile from my face. Actually, the joy became even greater after the ultrasound revealed I was having twins. Those two sacs in the ultrasound became the greatest image I had ever seen, and those heartbeats became the greatest sound I had ever heard. I was taking good care of myself and constantly daydreamed of my twins. I was already thinking of the room decorations and how my life was about to change, and oh, it did change. Where are they? Some weeks after, I had a follow up appointment. I was excited to see how my babies had grown. However, the only thing I got to see were two empty sacks. There was nothing inside. The babies had disappeared. Until today, it has remained a mystery of what exactly happened to them. The doctor performed a D&C, which is a surgical procedure after a miscarriage. He sent the tissue samples to a specialized lab to investigate the cause of the sudden disappearance. However, the results were not conclusive. Maybe my body rejected the babies and did away with them. Maybe this, maybe that. The only thing that was certain is that I was back at square one. Empty, lonely, broken, and extremely sad. The sadness lasted little. Somehow God gave me the strength to get over it, and it motivated me to try again. This was the farthest I had gotten, and with no medical aid to get pregnant. Repetitive miscarriages. Unfortunately, after this pregnancy, I kept getting pregnant and losing all pregnancies by or before the third month of gestation. I recall having 6 miscarriages in total. Each one left a terrible scar in my heart. I was not sure which one was the worst, being barren or losing all my pregnancies. Please divorce me and marry another. At a point, I sat with my husband and told him openly that I had failed as a woman and I was giving him a free way to divorce me and marry someone else that could give him children. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but his reply was very reassuring and gave me the strength to keep on. He said to me, "Before I even got married to you, I knew divorce would not be part of my vocabulary. We are in this together. Moreover, God promised me that my children would sit around my table. If God said it, I believe it. In His time, He will make all things beautiful." I felt it was unfair for him to stay with someone that could never have children. That is what I honestly believed then. Nevertheless, his faith was just too strong and contagious. I could not help but believe. Autoimmune disorder discovered. Sometime later, we decided to try once again. However, this time we made more profound studies and went to a very prominent fertility clinic. Studies revealed I had a blood mutation and a genetic condition called antiphospholipid syndrome, APS, an autoimmune disorder. Some signs and symptoms of that disorder are blood clots, miscarriages, rashes, chronic headaches, etc. Another fertility try. That explained it all. Therefore, with all these new pieces of information, we were certain that with in vitro fertilization, IVF, we could finally have our so sought after baby in no time. And surely in no time we experienced more difficulties. We discovered that besides polycystic ovaries, I also had fibroids that needed to be removed. I underwent surgery and some hormonal treatments before we could start the actual process. We had our break, and finally things were marching as planned. The day of the fertilization was finally here. Once again, I had a smile on my face, and my hopes were so high they could touch the sky. What could go wrong? Absolutely nothing. That was far from the truth. When I got into the doctor's office, I saw the look on his face. I became pale and weak. I was not sure I wanted to hear what he had to say, but there was no way out. The unexpected news. With a broken voice, he explained that we could not perform the procedure. All 17 eggs collected for the in vitro fertilization were faulty. All 17 had different genetic mutations or deformities that proved they were incapable of growing into a healthy baby. I was finished. All I could do was cry and cry bitterly. I stepped out of the doctor's office. I remember feeling so embarrassed, exceedingly sad, and as if a dark cloud was over me.